Last semester, I remember what we did back last December, when our class was all together and our ties have not been severed. I remember the assignment where I made a presentation, where I claimed the biggest challenge people face is isolation. Now our nation's devastated by a curse that can't be seen, simply waiting through the phases as we're facing quarantine. We see faces of the patients captured on our TV screens, reminding us to mask our faces and stay at home patiently, in pain and grief. As I paint this scene, I painfully conclude that it's plain to see the pain in me is caused by solitude. All I want to do is go outside and eat some solid food, but the curse that roams outside my home worsens my solemn mood, and all of you who do relate to me may feel depressed or trapped. In the midst of this, we must persist and learn how to adapt. We must figure out how to renounce our doubts and our concerns, while we learn how to unite despite the spread of viral germs. While I observe that in a world that lacks compassion and social contact, that suicide is normalized and love is just a marriage contract. They latch onto technology without concern for life outside. They do not care as long as their desires become satisfied. Though that sentiment was once relevant, such etiquette could be set aside. This crisis has caused a divide in our lives. We need to be social and nurture our pride. We need to have unity in our lifestyle. We need not to be let alone. We need to be really bothered once in a while. We need not to be on our own, because studies have shown that when we're alone, we tend to produce more and more stress hormones. Lonely people released more cortisol, causing stress like the virus in Portugal. Too much cortisol produced from one's social isolation could lead to high blood pressure or chronic inflammation. Loneliness can also augment depression or anxiety, leaving people feeling lost in a misguided society. So overall, I can resolve that loneliness boosts cortisol. To reduce this stress, we must address some sort of protocol. How do we fight this crisis despite this virus keeping us divided? I guess now that the whole world is lifeless, we are left to our own devices. Wait, since communication is priceless, we could use our phones to survive this. My advice is that we must use our own devices to be united within this crisis. And no, I'm not talking about when you sit on the couch watching Tiger King or Disney Plus. We must get up and do some stuff and actually be busy once. We must experience some love. We are a social species. Our social networks enabled us to survive and thrive through all disease. And now that we face this big disgrace that forces us to quarantine, we must use technology to form some sense of unity. We can talk to friends over video calls. They can serve as good distractions. We can support one another and provide our comfort and schedule these interactions. We can utilize this time to be innovative and to be creative in terms of how we're going to cope with this, and in terms of renouncing our hopelessness, and in terms of how people social distance. You can socialize, learn how to cook, play music, do house chores, exercise, read a book, organize, go outdoors, throw paper airplanes, play board games, spend time with your family. Do anything that keeps you safe as well as active and happy. Our relationships and connections are like seeds that we have sown. They require affection and proper attention for them to be fully grown. All I ask from you is to simply to water the seeds that you have planted, so that once our normal world returns, you won't take love for granted.